So what I have done to my R1 is actually inspired by the MotoGP bike, because there's winglet on the MotoGP bike, there's brake air ducts on the MotoGP bike.
I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots.
You are not as tough as
What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So I've been riding this Yamaha R1 for about 2.5 years now. So I bought this Yamaha R1 back in 2022, and then I got a respray back in 2023 with a new color, the red rims, and also the white color and red color fairing. So this color scheme, this design has been with us for the past 1.5 years. I didn't have much decals add on to my fairing, and the reason why is because I always wanted my bike to look clean, to have the clean look design. So in today's video, I'll be changing the look slightly a bit for my Yamaha R1 with the front winglet, and also the brake air duct with the counting down of 3, 2, 1. Alright guys, so this will be the new look of my Yamaha R1. What you guys are seeing and what I'm seeing right now is the winglet and the brake air duct on my Yamaha R1. The purpose of the winglet is to prevent the bike from lifted up when the rider is exiting the corners under full throttling. Let's see, am I able to do some wheelie? No, I can't wheelie. No, I don't know how to wheelie, man. The winglets often can be seen on the MotoGP bike, and as you guys know, MotoGP bike is traveling at a really high speed, so the winglet will create downforce to push the bike down to the ground to provide straight line stability. The size of my winglet is about 1/3 the size of a MotoGP bike and half the size of the Panigale V4 winglet, so I don't think there's much downforce being created on my winglet. And also the angle of the winglet is pretty level to the ground, so there's not much of an angle. Unless the front winglet is being tilted down, then there will be downforce created from the winglet. Downforce will only be created when you're traveling at a really high speed, Even on cars, the GT Wing really works on the car. I've tried driving my car on the Sepang track without the GT Wing. The driving feel and the experience is totally different, and it felt much less stable without the GT Wing. And with the GT Wing, it really creates downforce to push the car to the ground, and it works the same on the motorcycle because the winglet will create downforce, and the downforce will stabilize the bike when the bike is traveling at a really high speed. I don't think there's much downforce being created when you are doing a cornering because the cornering speed is much slower than the straight line riding. When you're cornering the bike, you don't want to have too much downforce because when your bike is tilted, if there's too much downforce, the downforce will push your bike towards the side. So rather than stabilize the bike, you low-sided the bike if there's too much downforce. Initially, I wanted to mount the winglet on the fairing, but because the surface of the fairing is curvy and the bracket which I've customized is a flat surface, so even with the GoPro 3M double-sided tape, it won't stick on the fairing and it won't last. So I've repositioned my winglet underneath the headlight. So there are two bolts being held on to the winglet. So the bolts were being put on to the inner panel of the fairing, just right behind this fairing. And the winglet is quite sturdy with the two bolts being held on. The finishing of this winglet, it looks like a carbon fiber, but it's actually not a real carbon fiber material, just a plastic with the carbon printing. I've also installed the red decals at the side of the winglet to have the red accent because my wheels is red, my inner fairing is red, my brake reservoir is red, so I want the winglet to match the wheels, the inner fairing and also the brake reservoir. So another thing which I've installed is the brake air duct. So the purpose of the brake air duct is to cool down the brake. So if you are just riding on the street, I don't think there's much heat being generated from the brake pad and brake discs. If you are riding on the track, that will be a different story because there are a lot of turns on the track. So you are required to slow down before the turn. So brakes will slow down your motorcycle, and this is where the heat are being generated from the brakes. When you're riding the bike, air will be constantly flowing into the brake air duct, and then it will cool off the brake discs to prevent the brakes from overheating. So I would say my Yamaha R1 is track ready, but I have no plans yet, probably or maybe in the near future. So what I have done to my R1 is actually inspired by the Motogp bike because there's winglet on the Motogp bike, there's brake air ducts on the Motogp bike. Not too sure how do you guys find it, but I really like the design of my Yamaha R1 with the winglet and also the brake air duct. The most hardest part to install the brake air duct is to secure the brake air duct to the bracket because there's a bolt in between the brake air duct and the brake disc. So the space is pretty narrow, so it's very hard for me to fit the bolt and also the Allen key. So I've spent a lot of time installing this brake air duct, and also I have to align the bracket to make sure the brake air duct is straight and parallel with the brake disc. The front winglet looks really nice when you're standing at two positions. So the first position will be this area, and the second position will be right behind, at the side of the bike, which is around this area. It makes the bike looks like there's really a wing beside the bike. So this is the new look of my Yamaha R1 with the winglet and also the brake air duct. Alright guys, so that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video and also like the new look of my Yamaha R1. And I will see you guys in the next one. Ride safe and bye.
I'm sick of all the bad thoughts, people who are half-nots.
You are not as tough as